Dave Palumbo here with an RX Muscle news update. This just in, the IFBB Europa show in Alicante, Spain, the men's open division, was won by James Hollingshead. James, who had a very, very tough year, a lot of losses, losing his good friend Lukas Osladil, his mother, and anything that bad can happen in 2020 obviously seems to have been happening to a lot of people. He more than has a great end of the year gift and beautiful thing happened to him by winning this show here in Alicante, Spain, and qualifying for the Mr. Olympia competition. I'm so happy for him. I want to just send out a huge congratulations. But let's break the show down. Guys, it was not an easy win, and it was a very well matched up group of people. And let's take a look at some of these prejudging videos. That's our good friend Xavier Wills had this on his channel. I don't know where he got the footage from, but it's not the greatest video quality that was coming through the live stream, but you can get the idea. In the middle, obviously, on the right is James Hollingshead. Next to him, Rafael Brandao. And this was a battle. A lot of people thought Rafa would be battling it out for top two with Hollingshead. The man all the way on the left, Lukas Osladil, who's usually the most ripped guy in the show, he wound up slipping into that second place spot with Regan Grimes all the way on the right there, finishing in the fourth spot. Now, you have to really, take your hat off to Hollingshead, because no one was really pegging this guy as the winner of this show going into the event. Everyone was, was talking about, Brandao, possibly Regan Grimes. I even had Lukas up there because I knew Lukas was going to come in. These are shows that Lukas usually can pull out and win because he's not outsized by a lot of these guys in this lineup, and he's crazy conditioned. With Big Ramy, bowing out at the last minute, according to him, due to COVID, this was a wide open field, and Hollingshead took advantage of the mass he had and all that stuff. And I think it was a well played show for him. He brought exactly what he needed in to win, and he did. Having said that, it's hard for me, watching video that's not that great to really make an assessment of whether, hey, you know what, this guy deserved it or he didn't deserve it, because I wasn't sitting there in the front row. But I could tell that, I know Brandao was in great shape. I could see Hollingshead was in good shape. I think his midsection could have been a little drier, but I think overall he had a little bit more size than Brandao. Lukas, what can you say? The guy is always, freaky hard. He's good at his presentation. He knows how to hit those mandatory poses. I think Regan needs to be a little drier, and I think his legs still need to come up a little bit. His upper body is just really good, and his legs are just not there yet. But let's break down this top group here, and if we see that, one of the guys that really impressed me that I thought was going to really come out and do some damage was Samson Dauda. This is a guy who, in at least in my mind, had the ability to possibly come in here and win the show. And I think what happened in the end was that he just didn't bring the conditioning that he needed to. And when you don't bring conditioning, you don't win shows. And that's really the name of the game. I mean, you gotta bring conditioning to the stage, or the judges are going to, hold it against you, even if you have the best structure up there. I mean, because he arguably has, the big wide frame. He's got the X frame like, Tony Freeman. He's got a good vacuum, good front double bicep pose. But, when the glutes and hams and the lower back are just not as tight, it works against you. And I think that's what happened with Samson here at this show. He just wasn't bringing enough conditioning in. Now, he had to be thrilled, though, because he did place top 5 here. He might, I don't know how many. I don't think he's going to have enough points to go to the Olympia, of course, but he's got to be happy. Now, Regan Grimes here will probably go to the Olympia on points. He's got one of these structures that you can just see that the more muscle he adds, he just looks better and better and better. And that's why a few years ago, when he decided he was going to do Classic, I thought it was a terrible move, because he looks better with a lot of muscle on his body, and he looks really good in that lineup, like when he shows off a lot of muscle. So I think that Regan is only getting better. know how. I don't think he's going to do that well on the Olympia stage, but I think that he's a guy. He's young enough. In 2 years, we're going to see this guy, and he's going to be doing some real dominating type stuff on stage. And what we're going to notice is we're going to say, you know what? We remember when he first started. Some people are going to say, well, we didn't think he'd ever make it there, but he's a guy who's very committed to what he's doing, and I think that's it's going to show. It's going to show when the future comes, and he's competing for Olympia titles, or at least in the top 6 there. Let's take a look at Lukas on stage here. He's got one of the more, I would say, pleasing physiques in sense of everything kind of just is striated everywhere. Now, this is something that I used to get some criticism on me. Lukas is probably the hardest guy in the show, but he's not Lukas Osladil hard. And what that means is that we've seen him harder than this. So people kind of judge him against his last, or the last thing that he's done. And unfortunately, you really got to judge him against the other people on stage. But people say, hey, Lukas could be better. Maybe he wasn't at his, maybe he should be, maybe he's not doing something that he should be doing here. But it's not fair, but that's the way it works. Now, if you want to see something freaky, look at Brandao when this was in the hotel room before he went over to the venue. This is in good lighting. What we saw at the venue was terrible lighting. And so, this guy's got all the tools. He's just not as big as some of the other guys. But when you look at the quality of muscle he's bringing to the stage here, you have to say, well, how the hell does this guy not win, right? But there it is. That's the man who does it. That's the man who won it. And he brought a combination of conditioning, size, and stage presence, and it was enough to land him in the winner's circle. And so you have to, take your hat off to James Hollingshead. He got the job done. He got the win. He's going to the Olympia. You can't take this win away from him. You might say, well, this one, that one should have. The bottom line is that Hollingshead was the best overall here tonight, and he gets the win. And so, we have to be happy for him and really congratulate him on a huge victory here. So, once again, I'm going to have him on the TV show a little later this week, and we're going to interview him and find out what he went through this past year and how great it felt to get that victory on stage here in Alicante, Spain, and be crowned the overall champ and going to the Olympia. The great thing is the top 3 will go to the Olympia here in Spain, and that's going to be, of course, Lukas Osladil, James, Rafael Brandao, and I think we'll see Regan Grimes to the Olympia too on points. So he got some points here. He's going to be in the point standing. He'll be one of the top point getters, and he'll go as well. So at the end of the day, it all worked out well, I think. I think the decision was pretty good. I wasn't there in person, so it's hard for me to really, make a definitive judgment call. But it looks like the judges got it pretty right. And I'm glad that, the IFBB offered the top 3 qualification spots because all these European bodybuilders got to get in there. They're going to the Olympia now. We're adding more quality guys to the lineup, and it was a feel-good weekend. The big story was that Ramy wasn't there, and we can discuss that. I'm going to discuss that more on Heavy Muscle Radio. You can listen to that Monday night. For now, though, I'm Dave Palumbo with an RX Muscle News Update.